Mystic Michaela spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today, we are talking about old souls and reincarnation, and I challenge you to bring the skeptic in your life to listen to, especially the last half of this episode, where we tell a story that is so chilling. I challenge them not to believe in reincarnation anymore after this story. But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. Well, even me,
right?
Even myself, right? I am pretty much there that this could be real. I have some doubts, but we will get to that. So first of all, I think you're talking about old souls and new souls.
I'm going to talk about that first.
I don't know anything about that, first of all. I've been called, I think, a new soul.
Okay.
What would you say I am? A new soul? I know it's all about me. But what am I?
Some people just have that vibe about them, you know?
Okay.
Like that old soul vibe. Usually we tell children this. I'm going to talk all about this because I think it got overused at some point. Like everything in life gets overused. So I'm going to talk about it. I have my own personal theory on it after doing so many readings. But I think new soul would
So would that apply to me, new soul?
Yeah, but it doesn't mean what you think it does. Like you're brand new.
Okay.
Like to me, it feels like, and listen, I've changed a lot over the years, like all the readings I've done and kind of like the downloads I got and the evolution I've done with all this. And I feel like new soul to me just means you have less access to the archives.
What archives?
You know, the archives of your past lives.
Oh, okay.
Like I feel like old souls have more access to their archives and new souls have less access to their archives.
So it doesn't mean like I'm new, like this is my first time around?
You can't be. Like your energy's part of the Earth's energy, like you're recycled. Like there's no...
So would an old soul and a new soul have the same amount of past lives?
I don't know. I'm not in HR. I can't look that up for you on the other side.
Well, don't you have access to the archives?
Bank.
You
No.
got access to the archives? Do I need a key?
I don't do past. I don't think you need a key. I don't really do past life stuff in my readings.
Is there facial recognition to get me in there to the archives?
Yeah, it's like a retina scan. Sure.
Okay. It's like put it in my passcode.
No, I feel like some people just have, and I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by this and how, but some people just have like a special ability to access that more than others. And children, more than anyone else, I would say universally have that ability.
Okay. Well, I don't think I have any ability to these records. I've never seen them. I don't know. Maybe I lost my keys. I lose my keys a lot in life, so maybe I lost the keys.
Well, the way back to it is, what are you fascinated by? Like, what are the things, like cultures, time periods, languages, things that are so random that other people are like, where'd that come from?
Well, that's interesting, and I know we've talked about this prior episodes a few times, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, episode 24, which is our beginnings.
But I will say the 50s. For me, the 1950s... I love the 50s.
You do?
Yeah. My favorite TV show, maybe of all time, is The Honeymooners.
You watch it almost every night, laughing hysterically.
Yeah, I think this is, and it's like very simple. And maybe that's why I like it. I don't know, because it's such a simple show. Mm-hmm. But The Honeymooners, it was a show in the 1950s. They had one huge season of 39 episodes. It was done by comedian Ralph Cramden. No, Ralph Cramden is the actor, but Jackie Gleason. And I don't know if anyone knows. Nobody probably knows what this show is. I'm probably the only person that knows what this show is. And there's Art Carney who plays the neighbor, Norton. And basically, I kind of reincarnate into him before a podcast episode.
You do, yeah. Like when I started watching The Honeymooners, because you were watching it so much, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's you. Yeah. Like just his movements and the way, it takes forever to do something.
You don't know what the listeners do not know is that before we do the podcast, it takes me about a 10-minute ritual to actually get started.
I sit here and I just meditate. I've learned to close my eyes and just wait.
Do you want to say some parts of that ritual?
Well, I mean, you have to, you get up, you get down, you get up, you get down, you get a glass of water, you drink it, you clear your throat like 5 times. You're like, oh, I forgot to do this. You have to get your hat. You always forget something. The cats start bugging you.
Right. Get my coffee.
Right.
Use the facilities.
It's a lot.
It's a whole thing.
You say you're ready, but then 10 minutes later, you're ready.
Right. And that's pretty much everything. Like if we sit down to watch a movie or something, you always are like, wait for it. Right. 10 minutes later.
I count 5 seconds before whatever.
Yeah. And in the show, Art Carney does the same thing. Norton, his name is Norton. He does the whole thing. Before he shoots like pool, he'll do the whole rituals and everything. So maybe, I don't know. Is that...
Well, I mean,
is that something? I don't know. Or is it just I like the show?
Well, you do love the 50s. I mean, you're fascinated with like, I know the Vietnam War. What else? I mean, you got some things like you are oddly fascinated with that time period, like the war. Like I think we talked about this. Like you did a dissertation on it, like all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. That goes up in time. That's like 60s, 70s.
Right.
Started in the 50s though. Vietnam War.
But who knows? Like it's almost like you have this idealization of the 50s.
Yes.
And as a historian, it wasn't as great, of course, like any time period. But I wonder, this is my thought.
Yeah.
Here's my theory on it.
Yeah.
I wonder if in a past life, you're so fascinated with the Vietnam War, because wouldn't you call that, now I am no historian, but some sort of end to that idyllic period in American culture or something? It was so I wonder if you're almost nostalgic for something that you had lived and also had watched become destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, it could be true. I don't know.
It's interesting because it's almost like the way that you love the 50s. It's like, I wish it was back.
I do.
That way.
Yeah, like...
And I don't know, and for a lot of reasons, like, it shouldn't be back that way, but at the same time, you're like, but I wish it was.
Yeah, it's so strange. Even like shows like Leave It to Beaver, I used to love that show. I don't know if anyone knows that show either. That was 50s too. That movie, which I thought was a terrible movie. Pleasantville.
Oh, you hated it.
No, but I loved the 50s part. And then when they switched it over.
When it started going into color and everyone got corrupted, you were like, and that's in the movie you're supposed to be like, cool.
Yeah.
They're finding themselves. And you're like, no. You're like, you would stay black and white in the movie. Like, what
I just want to live in black and white. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like
maybe there's something to it.
So my point is I feel like in all of us, we have these little nudges that might be lead backs to past life stuff, but old souls, and I'm going to talk about that, have kind of more of an access to it than others.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. When you gave me the topic of old souls and reincarnation, you said, go for it, go look into things.
Yeah.
First I didn't know. I'm like, well, reincarnation, usually I think of like, and I talked about this on the podcast, Hinduism, and that they just used it as a tool to keep them in line, so that basically when they died, they would be reincarnated and they'd go up a level of the caste system, up a level or down a level. If they did bad things, if they did good things, then they would go up. And I just thought it was like kind of a system to keep people in place.
Right.
But after doing some research, I'm starting to believe in this. It's very interesting. This one story in particular that we're going to talk about later, I found it very fascinating. All right, so we're going to take a little break, do a couple of ads. You're going to do your speech on old souls and all that, and then we get back to this really crazy case.
Right now, we would like to thank the sponsor of this episode, LifeMD. LifeMD is a healthcare without the system. It's an online virtual medical provider that takes the hassle, expense, discomfort, and confusion out of seeing a doctor and getting the care you need. When you sign up to become a LifeMD member, you can get the doctor expertise, diagnoses, prescriptions, lab referrals, and more 100% online right from your computer or smartphone. Visit lifemd.com now or download their app and see why LifeMD is transforming American healthcare. Listen, we've all experienced the headache that is the current healthcare system. Maybe you've struggled to get an appointment for an urgent issue like a UTI, or maybe you spent half your day at the doctor's office for a routine need that could be addressed in minutes. And if you're like most of us, you've received an exorbitantly priced medical bill you did not see coming. With LifeMD, you don't have to worry about any of that. LifeMD makes it easy to schedule a same-day virtual video with a licensed U.S. doctor. No more driving across town and sitting in a crowded waiting room. They even offer mobile lab collection services for people who prefer to get their blood work done in the comfort of their own home. I mean, like, how convenient is that? And if you're a worrier like I am, LifeMD has your back. If you have a question, a concern, or you want to clarify something you've discussed during your appointment, you can message your care team at any time. You'll receive a timely response. One of the best parts about LifeMD is how affordable and transparent their pricing is. You'll pay up to 90% less for lab orders and prescription medications. That's huge. And get this, the average LifeMD patient saves about $892 a year on healthcare. LifeMD is your source for treating urgent concerns, getting annual checkups, and dealing with chronic conditions like diabetes, asthma, allergies, and obesity. They even offer FDA-approved weight loss drugs for patients which qualify. And rest assured, their patient platform and app app is state of the art and make getting help simple. All you have to do is select your symptoms, pick your preferred doctor, and LifeMD does the rest. LifeMD is the simplest way to get the healthcare you need, when and where you need it. Become a LifeMD member today for an on-demand video visits with a doctor, unlimited messaging with your LifeMD care team, and so much more. Membership plans start at a little more than $1 a day, so please don't wait. Visit lifemd.com/KYA to get started and experience the difference of virtual healthcare. That's lifemd.com/KYA. You know, I wasn't even thinking about it. I had a couple pots and pans and frying pans here and there from what I collected or scavenged or like was gifted randomly throughout the years. And, you know, I'm cooking for my family every day on these gross, like nasty pots and pans that don't even clean well. I mean, what am I even putting in my food? I wasn't even thinking about it until this sponsor came into our lives, Green Pan. So this podcast is sponsored by Green Pan. And let me tell you, in 2007, Green Pan's founders discovered that traditional nonstick pans were made with plastic coatings that can turn toxic with heat. That's why they created a new alternative without forever chemicals. Green Pan introduced the world to ceramic nonstick cookware and have over 150 patents to prove it. They are the leaders in creating cookware without harmful toxins. So why does making cookware with ceramic matter? It doesn't emit fumes when it's cooked. It conducts heat evenly. I mean, it's super easy to clean up, so easy, and allows you to cook with less oil or butter, making the foods you cook healthier. I mean, I personally love that I just put in a little olive oil or a little butter, and the way that it cooks up my food. I mean, chicken. The kids are always eating chicken, and it cooks it so evenly and so quickly. And it's not getting stuck to the bottom of the pan. I'm not scrubbing it off. And this whole forever chemical thing. I mean, come on. These benefits in my life continue. It is 2023. Are you still cooking with pans made out of plastic? Head to greenpan.us and use promo code KYA, and you'll receive 30% off your entire order plus free shipping on orders over $99. That's right, 30% off. Whether you buy one pan or a whole set, that's 30% off. So head to greenpan.us and make sure you use our promo code KYA. I feel like spiritually, we always have to renew our language for things, because what happens is the 3D world comes in and overuses it, maybe overexposes it. And what happens is it tends to lose the meaning that it actually has to us and feel more instead saturated or cliche or overused. Obviously, a good example of this is the word empath. I've talked many times how, it's a way overused word for how I see it and what I talk about over here with it, but I don't have another word for it until I start making up new words. That's what I have, empath. But it's more than what the 3D world will stretch it out and piece it out to be. And another word like that, because I've talked about empath before, but another word like that, another phrase is old soul. Old soul, new soul. This gets so stretched thin. And I feel like, especially lately in media and consumption and just how we speak to each other and whatnot. But it's a real thing. And I'll tell you my take on it after doing all of the readings that I do. I want to explain to you my take on it through spirit, how spirit shows me what an old soul is versus what a new soul is. So perhaps you can understand it, connect to it, and feel more aligned with it. And it can mean something, again, not being a cliche thing that you hear. So let's start at the beginning. Have you ever met someone, or maybe this happens to you a lot, where you just feel like they're wiser beyond their years? Perhaps people have said that about you. Perhaps people confided in you early on, or felt you were parental, felt you were a teacher, felt you could handle information beyond your developmental age. I think a lot of children get called old souls versus adults. And it kind of, like if you've ever met somebody and they just kind of throw you off your track, like, whoa, well, you're a really wise person, and it kind of shocks them when they first meet you. That's an old soul feeling that people can give off, like an old soul vibe, like you're an old soul. And opposite too, sometimes you'll meet someone and you're like, okay, maybe you're new, maybe you're fresh out of the bag, this is your first little lifetime here. You've met people like that too. But here's the thing, there is no spiritual hierarchy. All right, that's a big thing. I see that in a lot of social media. Like, oh, if you're this aura color, you're better. If you're this word, you're better. If you're this placement, you're better. Okay, anybody who does a spiritual hierarchy thing when you're looking up your spiritual information, take it with a grain of salt, because there's no such thing as spiritual hierarchy. And being called an old soul, it makes you feel special, sure, but it doesn't make you more special than anyone else. Like, there is no spiritual hierarchy. This is what I get. So here's my thing. Doing readings, I feel like, and of course with me, it relates to the aura colors. All right. I feel like some aura colors just show off their past lives easier than others. So when you have an old soul, somebody feels like an old soul to you, what's happening is you're somebody with an old soul is just somebody who's more in tune with their soul's purpose, the bigger picture of this lifetime, more than others. It's this acute self-awareness, which exists and coexists with the human ability to fit in to the society that you're born into and must survive into. And it can feel very duplicitous to be an old soul. Like, what's really going on, but you also know how you have to act so you can fit in. So I feel just from reading, all the people I read, that everyone has a numerous amount of reincarnated lives attached to them. But old souls, and this is how it connects to aura colors, usually have a deeper understanding or an ability to connect with those past lives better than others. And okay, so I'll get into that more, but notice that we see or we call people old souls more when they're kids. And the thing is, it doesn't go away being an old soul. We can grow into it as we age. And what's funny is then you meet elderly people and they feel like children. And it's kind of the same thing. Like if you meet an elderly person and they're like, I'm living life large, and they're just like a lot of fun. I know you've met older people that don't fit the mold. Just like how when we meet kids that don't fit the mold, they're older than your years, or elderly people that don't fit the mold, like they're very younger than their years. It's the sensation's the same. Like, wow, that's cool. That's really hopeful. It's a kickback to remind you there's more than this. And it's like almost like they have some sort of perspective that you can latch on to. So it's interesting. I feel like old soul, elderly people come across as kids in a way. Okay, so back to the aura thing, because I feel like you're going to notice somebody's an old soul if they have an empath aura. So back to that word. Empaths, the way I see them, are people who feel other people's feelings the same as their own, along with the ability to alter their behavior based on what they're absorbing. And you don't have a boundary to it. There is no boundary. Everybody has an empath aura. Like most people have purple, blue, indigo, or turquoise in their aura color. Either one of them or both of them are empath auras. Not everyone leads so much with their empath aura. They can shut it down. They can put it somewhere else. They can lead with kind of just even if they're a double empath color, like they're blue indigo or purple, turquoise. You don't always lead with the empath part of you. Sometimes you can lead with your mask, or the part of you that wants to fit in. And those are people that can have an old soul spiritual awakening later. But yeah, so your empath aura, and if you connect with that first and lean on it more, I feel like that's when the old soul label fits you more than other people. Just outwardly. People are going to pick that up. It's just, and especially in kids, it's this feeling that their past life connections are more profoundly connected and intertwined with their current life. So what is it with past lives and old souls? So I feel like reincarnation is something we've all experienced. We are recycled energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. I think that's like a science rule. Okay. The life energy that you have inhabiting your body right now has touched everything in this universe. And some of our energy, depending on our aura colors, holds that info more than others. It's kind of like if you lead with your indigo aura or you lead with your blue or turquoise or purple aura in such a profound way, you have more of an easy access to those reincarnation files than other people do. That's all that means. That's what old soul means. So we all reincarnated a bunch of times because we're recycled energy. Old souls are people that just have more access to that info than others. Which is why, again, I'll see really like indigo or very deep blue children. Sometimes turquoise, sometimes purple. It's usually like the indigo or like really deep blue kids having that old soul vibe. More old soul than others. And I saw something where a psychologist was saying, stop calling children old souls when they've just had traumatic experiences and they're just children who've experienced trauma. And you might have been called an old soul, but you've also had to grow up quickly emotionally and emotionally mature quickly. I see this all the time in kids, especially a lot of you when you send me your inner child aura pics, your pics from when you were a kid. It's like, whoa, I can tell on your kid aura, like, you had to grow up quick. And you'll have like old soul energy. Yeah. And it's kind of like a kid that's seen too much and experienced trauma, the psychologist was saying. That's what it is. It's not an old soul. But my thought is on this, and this is like my thing. Like, yeah, of course. Okay. Like an old soul kid or a kid who has an aura which is super absorbent and able to perceive emotion in ways that they aren't developmentally able to process yet are going to present more of their past life knowledge in the attempt to deal with what they're picking up and their ability to survive it. And like, honestly, things aren't mutually exclusive. Like our 3D ego-driven world would like you to think. Like two things can be true. I see this all the time with all sorts of like diagnoses and things like that. They're just labels. Even the aura colors are just labels. So I feel like the point I'm trying to get at is if you have more of an old soul and you've had it since you were a kid, it's very possible you were more awakened to the trauma of what was going on with you, perhaps than other kids are, in a way where you understand people's perspectives. All right, like all kids can be affected by trauma, but not all kids are like, okay, I'm 6 and I realize this is how much money is in the bank and I got to help my little sister get ready for school and mom's passed out on the couch and she's not waking up. Like, and I still love her and I'm not mad because I have this perspective because I'm an old soul kid. So I hope this makes sense that things aren't mutually exclusive in the spiritual world. And we're getting a little deep here, but I feel like you guys can follow. All right. So it's possible to me, and this is what I see, that the kids that kind of lead with their empath auras of, again, turquoise, indigo, blue, and purple are actually going to be more affected outwardly by trauma, by what happens to them, and how it mingles with their past life awareness to form that old soul feeling. But here's the kicker, because all kids can be affected by trauma and all the things in that scenario I just went through. But old soul or the empath aura kids, they connect more that way or they lead that way. They're also the ones that are taking it in and feeling the perspective of it and seeing their own pathway through it. Whereas other types of kids that maybe aren't connected to their empath auras as much are like, okay, they survive in a different way, which maybe doesn't include as much perspective. So a big thing I get with empath aura, old soul vibe people is the ability to have perspective. And that is a condition of being 5D versus 3D. Okay, in the 3D world, which, listen, we need this for boundaries. It's like, I'm not responsible for what you put me through. I'm not responsible for you. I'm responsible for myself. Like that kind of stuff, which can be very helpful. It's very hard to have it when you're an old soul because you feel everyone else's intentions on top of your own stuff. And then you just want to kind of live in between it all the time. Now, you can be born an old soul. I see this. Because usually that has something to do with, again, your aura, how you connect to it, which color you lead with. Plus, what's happening around you to kind of activate it. And by the way, I see old souls even like in not traumatic childhood environments. Because if you're very, 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 very sensitive to things, and sensitive is a positive word around here, if you're very, very sensitive to things, meaning you just pick up everyone's thoughts and feelings and emotions all the time, even if you're in like the best family ever and everything's great as a kid, you're still picking up just the regular stuff. And it's kind of like being able to mind read all the time. And you really shouldn't be able to do that. But when you have that ability, your past life stuff, your past life connections can kind of shine through a little more because you lean on it, especially when you're a kid. But if you're not born that way, you can awaken your old soul characteristics through a spiritual awakening. And spiritual awakenings, I've talked about this, I've done episodes on this, and of course there's a lot of info out there. Here's the deal. This is a spiritual awakening. You aren't you. You aren't whatever your name is, whatever your age is, whatever you look like, whatever societal bracket you were born into. That's not you, okay? That's like the energy, the shell your energy got shoved into, basically. So when you have a spiritual awakening, this is like my cliff notes to what this is. When you have a spiritual awakening, what it is you get some sort of like a realization of that, and a whole layer of your skin basically just falls off you, and you're like, whoa, like that. It is a detachment from a 3D identity. So that's, in a nutshell, a spiritual awakening. And when that can happen, and when that does happen, when you get your spiritual awakening, you can have many throughout your life. And they're never not fun. They're never fun, but they're never like not worth it. But when this happens, again, you can be more open and your past life experiences can become more accessible to you. Having said that, then you can have more of like an old soul or a wisdom vibe. Yeah, because again, past lives are something that all of us have been through, but it's more the connection to them brought to the surface, which creates that old soul vibe. So what does it mean to be an old soul? I've said it like a million times. Like what are the characteristics of being an old soul? And this is something that you could have always felt, or it's something that you kind of go through periodically when you're having a spiritual awakening. First thing, loner. You just prefer to be alone. Why? It's just really hard to be around other people. I mean, when you can feel everyone else's stuff in that empath aura way, it can be very taxing to be around people. So you can prefer, like nature, plants, animals, that kind of thing, yourself. Old soul people, I mean, honestly, just prefer a lot of honesty, truth. They don't shy away from it, even if it's hard to hear. It's because when you have more of a connection to spirit knowledge, spirit truth, past life stuff, you have this kind of innate understanding that it's never about what you want to hear. You'd rather hear the truth than someone sugarcoat something. And that need for that is very old soul. Yeah, okay, so you're very intuitive. I mean, you've always just felt like there's more to the story. From a young age, you felt like it's more than this 3D life. So things like religion, society, money, that kind of stuff. It's like, it's real, but it's not. Like, you've always kind of felt I don't connect to it. I'm in it, but I don't connect to it. And you can feel source energy, whatever you want to call that, God, universe energy, whatever you want to call it. You always felt like there was this power bigger than us all. And this whole thing's just kind of like a joke. Yeah, like I was raised very, very Catholic. And listen, it wasn't, for me, not a bad experience, okay, for me. But that doesn't mean anything. That's just my own experience. Having said that, it just felt like it wasn't, even, I remember from a little kid just being like, this doesn't make sense, This just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that God cares about that, or God cares about this, or, that little kid questioning. Like, why does God care if I eat meat today? Like, does he seriously care? Or, like, there's so many things going on in the world. Like, why does he care if, I say this prayer correctly or whatever? It's just, yeah, if you had those thoughts as a kid, it's like an old soul kind of a thing. You get mortality from a very young age. You understand death. They say I think, I have so many professionals who listen to this, so you feel free to correct me about this, but, they say like kids understand death around 8. They really finally grasp the concept, like, whoa, it's a forever thing. I feel like old soul kids, it's different. Like, they understand it differently perhaps than the 3D world does, but they still understand it. And so if you kind of always understood it from a young age, yeah, that's kind of an old soul thing. I'm just thinking I could do a whole episode on that, like how kids deal with death. Oh, God. Just all the mediumship I do. Superficiality can disgust you. You know, small talk you might find very difficult. Perhaps as a kid, one of two things happened. Either you were called weird and ostracized for it, or you spent so much time learning to adjust so well that you learned how to wear a complete mask and a facade to fit in because you knew that you were so different. So either you like leaned into the different thing and they were like weirdo, or you totally like weren't yourself, like one of the two. You have like perspective, bigger picture lessons, reasons. You can really walk in the shoes of other people. So a lot of the old soul thing really does align with the empath aura thing. And that's because you have more like I said at the beginning, if you lead with your empath aura and it's highly developed and maybe conditions are correct for it to enhance even more, that old soul vibe can just come to the surface. Because a lot of these things are empath aura characteristics that probably a lot of you do relate to. It's just like, you know, when the old soul thing in kids, I think is when people get really, whoa, you know. Material things never had a hold on you. Like, if you think about it, it's more about the feeling, not the thing. Perhaps you were shy, introverted, you just felt different as a child, too. The questions, like big questions. You can recall having them from a very early age. Like, what's the point of life? Is this all there is? And again, this can happen if you're having a spiritual awakening too, like these big questions. And they are uncomfortable questions, don't get me wrong. These are very uncomfortable questions to ask yourself. Honestly, though, the more connected you are with past life, the more actually interesting and comforting these questions become. So that's another thing. If those questions actually interest you and you're excited about it, and you want to hear more about that, they don't give you an existential crisis. They actually are like, oh, I love that. I want to, they actually, like, to me, it makes me feel good that I am but a grain of sand in this universe. It makes me feel really, really good because there's comfort in a feeling that you're part of something so much bigger, you know? So if you relate to that, that's a very old soul feeling. Perhaps you've just been always very analytical. You want to discover the truth everywhere. Everything's a metaphor. You love digging underneath something. You just read between the lines, or you like hidden meanings, or you're really into symbols or symbology. You see beauty in everything, even the painful things, even things that are very, very painful. You can find some sort of beauty in them, even if it's bittersweet. Even it's like pain and beauty can be merged in ways. It can be very poetic, very artistic in that way. You may experience a lot of and always have social anxiety, overwhelm. I call it empath overwhelm. That's my own thing. Again, empaths are just more connected to their past lives, so all this stuff can kind of bleed into each other. And you it's funny, like you never like your own age. So when you were younger, you might have liked hanging out with older people. When you get older, you might like hanging out with the younger crowd. You just enjoy the age group that's not exactly yours. So your own age doesn't always work for you. And you know, with the reincarnation thing, and I could talk about this more, but like you are very fascinated by one period of time, like the dress, the fashion, history, culture, art. Like you just feel like oddly connected to certain geographical locations, weather patterns, and it has nothing to do with how you were raised or anything like that. Like it's completely separate and nobody understands why you're so into it. So it's very like out of nowhere, I'm super into, you know, ancient Egypt and the culture. And you know, you're just fascinated by it. And finally, you feel super old inside, not in like a crotchety kind of way, more in kind of like an ancient wisdom kind of way. And you've always felt this way. All right. So I hope this makes sense because this is what I've been seeing in all my readings, which it's like, yeah, empath auras just tend to be more connected to past lives in general. Therefore, put those two things together and you got old soul. Doesn't mean other people haven't lived a bunch of lives. It just means they might not be as cognizant of it as an empath aura is. Okay, let's hear your stories too over on the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family Facebook page. Scott and the kids and I went just for an overnight. We did a little staycation nearby, and I didn't want to pack this like huge, big old suitcase, and I didn't have to because of Base. Base is an overpacker's dream. You know, it can be hard to fit everything in, especially when it comes to luggage, but with Base, there is room for everything. I mean, everybody's stuff fits in it. It's great for just an overnight or a weekend. If you're just packing for you, it's even more room, but I fit everyone's stuff in there. And there's even a compartment for shoes. I hate like carrying shoes in a separate bag or sticking dirty shoes like in with your clothes and stuff like that. Base has a separate little compartment just for shoes. Base was created by actress Shay Mitchell to make sleek and affordable bags, luggage, and accessories designed to help you travel effortlessly while still looking fashionable, because it's like a cute bag. You know, it's like over the shoulder. It's super cute. Base has thought of everything you could ever want in a piece of luggage. 360-degree gliding wheels, a cushioned handle, built-in weight indicator, washable bags for your dirty clothes, and all the interior pockets you need to keep organized. Their luggage comes in multiple sizes and colors, and for shorter trips, the Weekender, which is what I took, the Weekender bag is super functional and even has a place to store your shoes separately. Every piece is made to look better with miles, so you don't have to worry about cargo or overhead. I mean, and Base has over 30,000 5-star reviews. Whether you're packing for a quick trip or looking to breeze through the security line with, oh my gosh, I can't hit the TSA, Base has your personal items covered. Right now, Base is offering our listeners 15% off your first purchase by visiting base.com/KYA. Go to basetravel.com/KYA for 15% off your first purchase. That's base, BEIS, travel.com/KYA. Little things that you consistently do in everyday life, they become part of the greater positive changes in your life. And for me, it's caring for my hair. This is what I do. I when I wash my hair, I use the way I took their quiz and I got the thick hair shampoo and the coordinating conditioner. Then I put in my hair serum, and I always spray my leave-in conditioner. And let me tell you, my hair looks and feels thicker, more healthy. It looks shinier. The volume of my hair has improved. I mean, the other day, Abby, my little one, is like, Mom, your hair looks so shiny and good. And I know it's because I've just been consistently taking the time to do this every day. And you know, if you have, there's like, you know, sometimes you're on a product binge, like you put too much stuff in your hair and it builds up. Their detox shampoo, I will use this every once in a while just to give my scalp this deep cleanse to bring it back to life, and it adds softness and shine. So that's another one that I'll use every once in a while. So get on your way to healthier hair one day at a time with shampoos and conditioners that are just for your type. Go to theway, THEOUAI.com/aura for 15% off your entire purchase. That's theway, THEOUAI.com/aura. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
All right. So I asked you to look into reincarnation, and I'm like, carte blanche, go for it. And what'd you come up with?
Okay. So it's very, very interesting. So at first, I said this earlier, I didn't know what angle I was going to take here, but I guess you guys sometimes call it the rabbit hole or whatever.
Right.
So it brought me to this case of Ryan Hammond's, a reincarnation case. And actually, then I learned that it was actually on Netflix. It was part of Surviving Death, episode 6. They featured 3 people on there. He was one of them. But this one fascinated me the most. And it begins with Marty Martin. Okay, so Marty Martin was born in 1903 in the city of Philadelphia. He was originally Marty Kolinsky. He changed his name. And I'll tell you a little bit about Marty. Okay, you know, in the 1920s, he moved to New York City. He became a tap dancer on Broadway. After that, he moved to L.A. That's when he changed his name to Marty Martin. It's a pretty cool name, I guess. Marty Martin.
Marty
Martin.
Yeah, it flows.
It flows. Better than Marty Kolinsky, I guess. He tried to be an actor. Failed. Probably realized everyone was like a fake and phony in L.A. and failed. Couldn't handle the traffic.
Okay.
I'm just going on an L.A. rant right now.
Even back then.
Even back then, there was traffic. So then he decided to become a talent agent. I guess kind of like a teacher.
Those who can't do. No. That's not even true.
And then he became really rich off of that. So he didn't make it as an actor, but he made it as a talent agent. He lived in Beverly Hills. He had a beautiful home, like a mansion with a swimming pool. He lived on Roxbury Drive. For some reason, he loved to collect sunglasses. He loved Chinese food. He was married 4 times. He had 1 kid himself. He had 3 sons, stepsons, and then a stepdaughter. So he had 5 stepkids and 1 kid himself. And then he died of leukemia. Well, he had leukemia, and then he died of, I think, like a brain hemorrhage or something, on December 25th. Christmas Day, 1964, at the age of 61.
Okay.
All right, so, guy lived a nice life, blah, blah, blah. In comes this guy kid named Ryan Hammonds.
Okay.
Okay, so Ryan Hammonds was born in Oklahoma in the year 2004.
How many years is that? Like 40 years?
Right, so that's 40 years later.
Right.
After the death of Martin. In comes Ryan Hammonds.
In Oklahoma.
Nowhere near Philadelphia.
Right.
All right. So at age 4, first of all, could you just give me, before we move on to that, we did find a picture of Martin.
Yes.
Black and white. Cool picture.
It's hard to find him, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little hard to find him. Can you tell me his aura?
Yeah, he's only famous because of this case.
Yes.
I guess.
He was
by the way.
Right, like I said, he was an actor, a failed actor.
Right.
But a great agent.
Right. Okay, so when I look at him, he has a very blue and purple aura, which is odd for the time because, I always talk about how auras and generations, generations affect auras or whatever. The guy's very purple is my point. And he's blue too, so he feels like he was a sensitive person, but he's wearing a lot of green. So I guess my assessment is for that time period, especially just for being a man, it might be probably, I'm sure, was even... And it's hard now to be a blue-purple guy, but back then, really hard. So he wears a little green on him.
Okay.
But he's blue-purple.
And this is, maybe people want to know this, could he be spoken to at this time?
Yeah.
I know you don't have a connection to him.
Well, let's continue on because I have something to say about that, which is really fast. It just actually shocked and surprised. And it was like an aha moment to me.
Oh, okay.
Because he feels, and if you've had a reading with me and I've ever said this, he feels far away. Or distant, but let's talk about that.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So enter Ryan Hammonds, 4 years old. Again, he was born in Oklahoma in 2004. So now we're looking at 2009-ish. Okay. He starts saying things to his mother, to his parents, about that Marty's life. So he says, I used to live in Hollywood. I have adopted sons. Things like that.
How old is he?
He's at the age of 4 or 5 here.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing before 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think he had a problem where he couldn't even speak before 4.
For real?
And then he had a surgery.
Oh, wow.
And then at 4, he was able to speak.
Oh, I got chills.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So it was very interesting. And, the mom was kind of inquisitive, I guess, wanted to know a little bit more. So she was pushing him to kind of find out what he was talking about. And so she took out and he kept on saying Hollywood, and he would mention actresses' names. I think he said Rita Hayworth at one point.
Yeah.
And so the mom took out books from the library on old Hollywood.
Yeah.
And she was flipping through this book, and one of the pictures was a movie from 1932 called Night After Night. And Ryan, the little boy, again, he was 4 or 5 years old, looked at the picture, and he said, "Hey, there's George." Okay.
Whoa.
And the mom's like, "Oh, George?" He's like, "Yeah, there's my friend George."
It's just a snippet of the picture. Snippet
it's just
of the
picture of the movie. Yeah.
Right.
So,
just a scene in the movie
There's
with a bunch of guys looking from the 19-whatevers.
Yeah, and you can get that picture now.
Okay.
And I show it in the Netflix documentary, too.
Okay.
And there's a few people in the picture. And then Martin, who, again, was a bit actor, he was off to the side, but he's in the picture. And the boy says, "And that's me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
So it's pretty crazy.
Oh my God. I
yeah.
have like such chills.
Right. And the thing is, the guy George, they were able to identify right away.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to, because I guess he was a known actor at the time. And yep, that's George that the boy pointed to.
So he was right.
He was right.
Yeah.
That was George.
But he's also a known actor.
He was more of a known actor.
Right.
Correct. The Marty Martin was not known, and at that time he wasn't, like, they didn't even put him in the credits.
Wow.
So he didn't even have like a credit. So it was very hard to figure out who that guy was.
Yeah.
But they contacted a man named Jim Tucker
Okay.
at the University of Virginia in 2010 now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a guy that I think still to this day is very much into this reincarnation and, finding out what happened. And he did some research, and it pointed to this man named Marty Martin.
Wow.
And he came, did some tests, and basically right now, Ryan Hammonds holds the record for the most identifiable statements. I think it's like 55 statements without previously knowing
Oh my God.
that person.
That's a lot.
Yes. And some of the statements are pretty crazy. So I have a list. You can get this list very easily. Here we go. I'm not going to read every single one of the 55, but I'll
Right.
give you some that Ryan knew about Marty Martin when he was age 4 or 5.
Right.
And couldn't possibly have known. This is
Right.
before.
Or even been fed that information.
No, because no one knew who Marty Martin was.
Right. Because that's the first thing you're like, oh, are the parents trying to get famous? Like,
Right. That's what I think.
Right.
That's my first thought is the mom, or are
Feeding
they in
him.
cahoots here? Do they
Right.
want to get on Netflix? Do
Right.
they want to...
Well, this is back in 20.
Yeah, all right. Do they want to get on TV?
Right.
Yeah. All right, so he's the man in the photograph from the movie Night After Night. We did that one. He lived in Hollywood. Correct. He lived somewhere with the word rock or mount in it, and the street address was Roxbury
Oh my God.
Drive in Beverly Hills.
Oh my God.
He was very rich. Maybe I will go through all these. They're so cool. His house was big. Okay. All right, kids can make those up, right?
Yeah.
There were 3 boys.
Wow.
He didn't think the boys were his, but he gave them his name. So, yes, and he had the 3 boys.
And they had his last name?
Yeah.
Whoa. That's weird.
That's crazy. He had a daughter. Yep, he had 1 biological daughter. He brought coloring books home. Okay, you can make a case that.
Yeah, dads do that.
Dads do that.
Right.
He had trouble with his oldest stepdaughter. She wouldn't listen to him. She didn't respect him. Confirmed. He had a large swimming pool. Confirmed. Again, you could make the case they were living in L.A.
Right.
His mother had curly brown hair. He had a younger sister. He bought his daughter a dog when she was about 6, and she didn't like the dog.
Wow. See, that
confirmed.
right there, like the emotional aspect to it, and she didn't like the dog.
Right.
That's really specific. And she confirmed that. The daughter confirmed it.
These are all confirmed.
See, that's
Yes.
very specific.
Yeah,
And she
that's the
didn't-
crazy
yeah.
part. These are all confirmed. He hated cats. Now this one freaks me out. He knew, and the kid kept saying Senator 5.
Okay.
At that time, it was proven that he knew a Senator Ives.
Oh, like
IVES.
he was saying, like,
the boy Ryan kept saying Senator 5, Senator 5.
Okay.
He knew Senator Ives.
Oh,
Very
wow.
close. It wasn't 5.
Yeah, but, like,
his
he's a
Ives.
kid.
It's kind
Oh,
of
my gosh.
Right, he's 4.
Right.
Yeah. And he used to see Senator Ives in New York. He had a green car. The daughter at first said, no, he didn't have a green car. It was later. The daughter didn't even know.
Wow.
The mom, would be the grandmother, right?
Right.
Knew that it was a green car.
Oh, my God.
He was an agent, and he ran an agency. The agency changed people's names. All true. He tap danced. He said he tap danced on the stage. The stage was in New York City.
So that is like, how do you?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That he would know that.
Right.
It was so specific.
Yes.
He ate in Chinatown a lot. His favorite restaurant was there. The kid kept saying that.
Was confirmed.
That was all these are confirmed.
Wow.
He went to Paris. Loved Paris. Saw the Eiffel Tower. He took girlfriends to the ocean. Okay, again, some of these you could make a case.
Yeah.
But he played piano. He knew Rita Hayworth.
But I'll say, like, even the general ones, like, he liked the ocean.
Right.
Like, this kid is 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
It's like, that makes it more believable to me because he's, like, recalling what he knows. You know what I mean? And he likes the ocean. And he likes it. Like, it's not all fed to me information. Otherwise, like, that would be all specific. Like, this, it's kind of a mix, which is interesting.
Yeah. He had a sunglass collection. Okay, this one, and I will say something about the statements in a second, just to play the other side of the coin here. But okay, so Ryan, let me go through this one. It's a little mathematical here.
Okay,
but this one, Ryan was quoted as saying, "I am not 5. I'm closer to 105 when I was here before." He died at age 61.
Okay,
would have been 106. So if you do the math on this, this is the freakiest part. This is where I started freaking out. Yeah. So on Marty Martin's death certificate, it said he died in the year 1905. Okay.
1905?
Sorry, he was born. Sorry, I apologize. He was born in 1905.
Born in 1905. Okay.
It was later proven that he didn't die. He wasn't born. Sorry, he wasn't born in 1905. He was born in 1903. Oh,
he was lying about his age.
I don't know if he was. He could have. Right. He could have been lying about his age, or right. They could have known whatever.
Right.
But if you do the math and then you take this statement by Ryan, who says, "I'm not 5. I'm closer to 105," that would put his age at his birth year at 1903, not 1905.
So he knew his actual age, and that was nowhere, really.
Yeah, they thought it was 1905.
Right.
And then the doctor, Tucker, went into the records.
Right.
And they proved that actually he was not born.
The parents.
No one would have known that.
Parents couldn't have done that even.
Nobody could have done that.
Well,
nobody could have known
full body
that he was born 2 years earlier, except for the person who had, if you lived his life. That's the only way you would have known that.
Yeah.
There's no one that knew that.
Wow.
They had to go into all these records to find it.
That's nuts.
And now his birth date is 1903.
Wow.
Instead of 1905. That one freaked me out.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. So then, all right. So do you want to? Let me just keep going here, and then we'll go into the aura colors a little bit.
Okay.
So, all right. So you take now. I got to play devil's advocate. I got to play my skeptic role here. Scott. Although that 1903, 1905 thing was like I was like free. I was like
that shook you.
That shook me.
But then you want to go immediately to the. All right, what's the flip side?
Yeah, then I want to say, so I go into it and I look into it and I say, all right, well, he got these 50-something things right. How many things did he get wrong? Did he get anything wrong? So they could only prove, so he said about 230 things total.
Wow.
Okay, so that means there's 180 things out there that either were wrong or couldn't be verified. Okay, so most of those were just, they couldn't verify what Ryan was saying was correct.
Right.
There was a 15% incorrect rate.
Okay.
So basically, if you look at the math, and if you're a green guy here, you're probably wondering. So about 25% of what Ryan said was proved correct. 15% was proved maybe not correct, and then the other unverified.
Okay.
All right. So here are some of the, and you get this list too. Very easy to get this stuff. Here's some of the list of what Ryan was proved incorrect. And this scared me too because, I don't know. Here we go. Let me read some of these. He gave his daughter a watchdog that she didn't like. Okay, we know that.
Yeah.
Marty indeed did buy his daughter a dog, which he did not like, but it was a Yorkshire Terrier, not much of a watchdog. Let's say who?
That's nitpicky.
That's nitpicking. Yeah.
Yeah, because terriers they can be very territorial.
They can be.
I think that's their whole breed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So that was weird. His father had died when he was a child in his last life. Marty's father died only 6 years before Martin.
Okay.
All right, so maybe, I'm not sure on that one.
Right.
His wife enjoyed putting their daughter's hair in pigtails or a ponytail. If he did, it must have been when she was very young because his daughter did not recall this. But maybe it was when she was very young. Maybe she did it when she was 3 or 4.
That's not something that's like an up in the air one or whatever.
Yeah. Right, exactly. He died when his heart exploded. Martin's death was unwitnessed, but as the cause of death was a brain hemorrhage, this seems unlikely.
Yeah, but I guess I'm going to say about that because in mediumship stuff, like this is across the board. Like when I read people who've passed, I mean, not that it's funny. I'm like, my statement will prove this correct about mediumship. Right. Like what I say is factual at this moment, but you don't always know how you died. That's a big thing. Like, you know that you died, you don't know how you died. And the other thing is you can have an idea of how you died. And be just like people get stubborn. Like, you don't know what's going on with your body when you died. You just know I died and I think my heart exploded. Like that kind of a thing. That's what happened. Like that was my medical diagnosis. That might just be what he thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that doesn't mean anything to me.
Okay. His body was cremated. Marty's death certificate says that he was buried.
Again, they don't care.
Yeah, plus he's already dead.
The people on the other side do not care what happens with their bodies.
Okay.
That is across the board. Like, they care, like, if you memorialize them in some way. It's more like the memory, but not the placement of their body.
All right, so what I'm saying here now,
but the dad thing, that's interesting. And then my questions would be, well, did he have a stepfather? Did he have a father figure? Would be my next questions. That because on the other side they can call somebody their father who was actually their father figure. Like, so there's no step in spirit. So like if he had a stepdad or somebody who was like a father figure to him. Mm-hmm. And then he died young.
Right.
So
it could be that's who he's talking about.
That would be my next question.
Okay, so based on the statements, this scene, Ryan is pretty accurate here. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Now my questions are, and that's why we have you.
Okay.
I want to know if this Dr. Tucker, is he lying? What's his colors? His mom, Sydney, the kid, I believe. How is this kid doing it unless one of these adults is messing with things?
This is really interesting because it ties into the old soul thing I just spoke about.
Okay.
When I look at Ryan as a child, I have a picture of him as a child. He is very, 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 very blue and purple. So he definitely, and he is very, very much an old soul. Like, you would see this kid be like, whoa, what a mature child. Like, what an old soul. Like, the way that you just see him, he looks like an old man in a kid body. Like, that's his vibe. And his aura is extremely empathic. And he feels like deeper than he should be for this age. Like, knows. So if I just saw him, I didn't know anything, I'd be like, wow, what a wise little old soul kid. Like, this kid looks like he's around adults a lot. And I think he is an only child though. And I would say like he's, that he's well spoken, and I feel like he has a lot of confidence. And I would say that he's extremely empathic and he sees everything going on around him. And so to me, like, as a little kid, like, yeah, like this kid is kind of one of a kind.
Okay. So, all right. So he's 4 or 5.
Yeah, in this picture.
Yeah, in the picture. This is what he's saying.
He's mostly blue with purple.
Mostly blue with purple.
Yeah.
It's also interesting because in the Netflix show they showed him at age 15.
I have that picture too.
Okay.
And
read
looking at him at 15 again, like it's like one of those things where it's so obvious to me. I think everybody else. You saw it. Did you see like this kid? Wow, this kid's like an old soul or what a mature. He's only 15 in this picture, but he feels like a 40-year-old man or something.
I'll be honest, I did not.
For real? Okay.
No.
When I see this kid, like, it's one of those, sometimes I don't know if it's obvious to me, but not to other people because of the psychic thing. But, oh my gosh, this kid looks like he's seen some things. I don't know if the prodding into the past was actually good for him.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I worry about him, and I'm not a doctor, but I do worry about him with long-term mental health stuff and struggles and whatnot. And I worry about him in that way because there's like a sadness upon him.
Yeah.
And he's very, very indigo, which is hard to be indigo boy. It's hard to be indigo at 15. It's hard to be indigo in general. So it's just there's a lot of depth here that I feel like he doesn't always know how to handle or process.
Yeah. I did pick that up.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because... And again, we were getting annoyed at the show.
Yeah, go watch episode 6 of Surviving Death, and you guys all tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Because I got mad.
Yeah, we got mad.
At how they treated this kid. I mean, production, everything. I didn't like what they did to him.
I agree. I mean, this happened in 4 and 5, and you can tell, like, he's 15 now. He doesn't want to be Marty Martin anymore.
He's himself.
Yes. And, everyone was pushing him to be Marty Martin, almost like he was like a... I don't know, a dog and pony show. It was a dog and pony show.
Like a circus show or something.
He's not a circus act.
Yeah.
And that annoyed us.
That annoyed me a lot. Also, the way that they make him go visit Marty Martin's daughter and Marty Martin's, I don't know, friend or something.
Yeah.
And the way that, not the daughter so much, but the friend really, really upset me because was
it the friend or the mother?
No, it wasn't the mom. It was like the last surviving adult who knew Marty as an adult.
Right.
It was like his friend or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But she was a real jerk.
Yeah.
And the way that she was trying, she's like, what? If you were in Paris, kind of like testing him.
Yeah, testing him.
Something with Lindbergh. I don't know what that meant. But like, she was trying to test him on historical things. Does that recall to you?
Yeah.
He had a favorite, whatever. What color was it? And it's like, you are so 3D. You are, and he was so, and I felt so bad for him because he's 15. This is so freaking weird. He's not he doesn't have the memories anymore, and he's just a child. And to be like, oh, I stumped him, like that. I hated that.
Yeah, I know. It was like, what was in his left drawer, dresser drawer. She didn't say this, but I'm exaggerating it. But it was like, it's like so specific, like to test him.
Yeah.
And, ridiculous.
But the way that he explained it was beautiful.
Just how you kind of explained it.
Yeah,
sometimes.
he said it's not, because I've had my own past life experiences, and the way that he said it, I'm like, yeah, like he explained it better than I could. He said it's not something like, it's not a memory I can access. It's more like a dream snippet. And that's exactly what it's like. I've had a lot of past lives recalls, and that's exactly what they are. It's like remembering a dream, but more real.
Okay.
So anyway, so when he said that, I was like, yeah, it's not the same thing. Anyways, I saw something, though, with that documentary, a pattern. And this was my pattern that I saw. Because they have some other cases on there, too. Yellow mom. Highly identified by her relationship with her child. So kind of a yellow mom that is, how do I say this? Like, my relationship with my child is my entire identity, like very leaning on their kid a lot, needs their kid to need them, like this kind of thing. So yellow mom plus the needy thing, checked out dad or no dad. Dad checks in when the kid starts getting facts, and he's all of a sudden, the dad's like, oh, what is this? It's not nonsense anymore. What's going on? And then these little kids are realizing like, oh, the more I connect with my past life stuff, the more attention I get and authentic and real connection from my parents.
Okay.
So I feel like, honestly, all kids have this ability. It's just how you deal with it might be different and might elicit more information from a kid rather than others. So it's like empath aura to top it off.
Okay, so give me... Yeah. Okay, so... Ryan's mom is Sydney.
Oh, yeah. She's yellow.
Okay, what's her color?
She's yellow and indigo.
Yellow and indigo.
But the indigo is like kind of, I don't want to like diss her on here.
No, I know.
Well,
I could do it because I was upset.
Well, she's a little victim blue.
Yeah, that's what it seemed to me.
Yeah, and she needs her kid, like this was like this puzzle that she needs to solve.
Right.
And her kid's the puzzle. And it like gave her life. She's like, oh my God, my kid's special. I'm special. We're special. This is special.
Right.
Oh my gosh, finally somebody people are paying attention to what I have to say. My husband doesn't listen to me. So you all listen to me. Dr. Tucker listens to me.
Right.
Like that kind of thing. So that was my vibe on her. And listen, she doesn't have a malintention. She would do anything for a kid.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But, and again, I know the show is edited to look a certain way too.
Yes, of course.
I know it's a documentary. It's not reality TV, but
right.
Still Netflix, they'll edit it the way they want to.
Yeah.
And like the last scene between her and Ryan, the mom and Ryan,
right.
is, and obviously the meeting didn't go well because Ryan's 15 now and he can't recall those things like a dog and pony show.
Yeah. It's not how it works.
And then the mom wants Ryan to console her.
They're at Marty Martin's grave.
Yeah, and
she starts crying.
And she's the one, the victim. Yeah.
And Ryan's like hugging her, like it's okay.
It's okay.
It's like what just happened?
It's not you.
And then they have this other one too that's like fat. You got to watch this.
So
show.
Again, I know it's editing too, but
I know, but it seems like that plays a factor in the recall of past life stuff.
Right.
All this plays a factor. Dr. Tucker, you
okay? Yeah, let's do Dr. Jim Tucker, who I guess is an expert on this.
Yeah.
And he's the one that goes to all the families. What's his deal?
Oh, he's super green.
Super green. Yeah, I do that too. Yeah.
He's green and blue. He's a little odd. Honestly, there's these paranormal things that I feel like he wants to be like Dr. Weiss.
Okay.
So you don't know who that is. Brian Weiss. He's like, oh my gosh, if I mess this up, sorry guys, but he's like a leading hypnotherapist for past life regression.
Okay.
He's made a real name for himself, a lot of fame. He's got a lot of books and he was on Oprah and he's really interesting and I believe that he can do it. And he has a fascinating story about it. I feel like Dr. Tucker wants to be like him.
Got it.
So I do feel like that's a motivating factor for Dr. Tucker. And I do, but I do feel he puts the scientific application to something that's really hard because sometimes the way that we apply science is very 3D and I don't know if we know that yet. I think it's kind of like what they used to do with witch trials, like if the witch floats or something like that. I don't know, like it's kind of like applying some, we don't even know it yet, but antiquated experiments to things that's like you don't even get it, so anyways, but I feel like he's trying, and for that, cool, because it gives some credence to this thing that otherwise just would have been a story that nobody knew about.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that is interesting. And again, the one thing I question with I guess, any green dude scientist
Mm-hmm.
are they telling us a story that we want to hear? Meaning, like, if maybe they went to 10 other kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And all these tests proved negative. We never hear about that.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I think that he's looking for the stuff. I think as a scientist, you're supposed to explore all the cases of these things.
Right.
And then but that would give you a much less favorable number.
Right, exactly.
In the angle of this is a real thing.
Right.
Versus him just being like, oh, let me just give you, let me see if this is even worth my time. And then he'll travel out if the kid's like real.
Because that's what it seemed like.
He only studies the good cases.
Yeah,
Like that.
okay.
And then he leaves the ones like, hey, my kid said this. It's like, but then all of a sudden it'd be like, who knows what low percentage of children who recall these things are accurate. So I feel like he's going to the, but at the same time, you have to put aura colors into it.
Yeah.
Dr. Tucker. Because first, make sure that they're like a really blue, indigo, or even turquoise kid. I think those are the colors that, maybe with some purple. And if the kids, those aura colors, study that group of kids for their recall versus other aura colored type children.
Like a red, blue,
like a red kid or a pink kid or like a yellow kid. Like, don't go to them so much. Go to the empath, the more empath leading children who have more access to that information. That's one. Two, get the ones with the yellow moms. Like, we're
going to get the information out.
Yeah. And then the checked out dads who aren't, get that recipe and then go from that pool. I don't know.
Yeah, because
that's like my aura thing.
Yeah, and again, I'll bring it back to myself as I always do. Like, if I were saying these things at age 4 or 5, maybe I was.
Oh my god!
No one's gonna listen. They'd be like, they would just like go to your room, play Star Wars.
They'd be like, "What?
Oh, it's a Star Wars show.
Is that your TV show?
Is that your Star Wars?"
Because they all talk like you. If I said this as a kid. Like, my parents would have been like, because they're all psychic, like, of course, Megan, that's reincarnation.
That's what we do here.
That's your past life. I, personally, was Anne Frank, and you were somebody not as well known.
Right.
So, let me tell you about me instead. So that would happen to me, and probably did. I remember Abby, and I read so many people, by the way, who their kids say, like, off-the-wall stuff, and it's like, okay, there's, like, no way you would have your kid knows that. Obviously it's past life stuff, but do you want to pry? Right. Do you want to go there? Do you want to push them? And then it's interesting on the Netflix show because they talk about how different cultures react differently. Like, our Western culture is very like, ew, no,
right.
Like that. But other cultures are like, yeah, totally cool. And then maybe it's less of a traumatic experience in a culture like that if you recall things. Abby, when she was like 2, she was like, Mommy, when you were in my tummy, and she was like really into it. Like, she was really adamant that I was in her tummy.
Yes, I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Like when when you have a kid, like, when your kid's making stuff up or when your kid's like being like, this is real. So that was like, this is real. When you were in my tummy, like, she was trying to say like, when I was your mother, like that. And I believe her, but I didn't pry it. I'm not like, what was your name? Where did you live? I'm not like, I won't give you enough affection unless you give me more details. I'm not doing that to her.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh yeah, okay.
Yes, I also do want to add that not only was your mom Anne Frank in a past life, she was also Patsy Cline and Lady Godiva. The interesting one is Patsy Cline was alive when she was alive, so I don't know if that blows up the quantum physics, spectrum, whatever.
Was it the grandfather paradox and Umbrella on the Umbrella Academy or something?
The Umbrella Academy, right? It would have exploded the paradox, and the whole world would have collapsed. If your mom was that. Yeah.
I did want to talk about the far away thing because number one thing I get, if they reincarnated, can you still read them?
Right.
I just discovered this in this moment.
Okay.
Doing this episode, real time, looking at Marty Martin's picture at the beginning. I was like, oh, he just feels far away. You guys will give me pictures of, here's my great grandparents here. And sometimes I'll be like, well, sometimes they're hard to get a read on because they feel, and it's just my words for it, far away. They just feel far away, like here, but not enough to talk with me. And in the past, they just put it, well, they died a long time ago. Maybe they've moved on, or they're doing other things now, or they're not identifying with their human self the way they were. They're more part of, whatever it is when we go over there more. But now I wonder if it's a reincarnation thing. Because, like, when I look at Marty Martin, like, he's still... And so this is where I have to... I'll leave it with you guys, too. To what does this mean? He's still an entity, Like, he's still Marty Martin. Like, he's still that, but he's also feels far away. So I wonder if when we reincarnate, this is my thought, you're never who you are. Like, you're not Scott. I'm not Megan. We're like a higher self energy all the time that might go into different stories or chapters or lifetimes, you could call it. And you don't exactly get rid of all those identities. They kind of coexist with you somehow, like slices of paper on top of one another or something. And I wonder if that has something to do with it, because you can still connect to, my point is, I feel like when you reincarnate, you're not gone, like you're not that life that, does that make sense? Like that life that you were doesn't evaporate and is no more. Like you still connect to the people who you loved or the people that loved you, but you've also moved on a bit.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm sure some of our listeners are going to get this right away.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to have to process that. It's going to take me at least another 3 or 4 episodes before I could even
I feel
get
like
to
I guess what I'm trying to say is multiple identities can exist within a higher self person.
All right.
And identity is a construct of the 3D.
Okay.
So
I'm going to have to ruminate.
It's just like, you could think of like an identity as just a concentrated bubble of energy that can still coexist as you move forward or whatever. So if you think about lifetimes, instead of lifetimes, it's just relationships. Like you had friends as a grade school child, okay? And now you're 40 whatever years old and you have friends now. It's kind of the space between your second grade best friend and your best friend now. Like you still, there's the version of you that was friends with second grade. Does that make sense? Like there's a version of you back in second grade. Second grade Scotty was a version of you.
Right.
And now you're 40 whatever year old Scotty and there's a version of you. And it's the same person, but it's very, very different. And I feel like if you looked at life in general or this existence as an overall story arc, it's very much like that. Like there's a Marty Martin version of this kid and then there's the version of him now and they're the same person, but they're not, like that. Does that make sense? Man, guys, Scott's looking at me like I'm crazy. I hope you all know what I mean.
I
think they'll get it.
Our listeners are going to get this much quicker than I can.
All right.
I believe what you're saying. It's just going to take me some time to process it.
Are you going to have an existential crisis?
We go to overtime here. I just had one the other day.
You did. Is this overtime?
Yeah, we could call it. I mean, I think did we get to I think we pretty much covered it. I mean, I'll just kind of sum up. Am I a believer? Because, everyone is dying to know, is the skeptic, for
Do
this or
you
against
believe?
this? Yeah, I believe Ryan Hammond's, yes, he said these things. Mm-hmm. The mom, I don't know if it pushed a little, the doctor, I'm not sure. Again, and that's the thing with all these things. It's always people that I don't trust. It's not the spirit world. It's
the people telling the story.
Yeah, telling the story. Do I trust them or not? And I think you're right with Ryan. I agree with that. And I guess I'd have to look. Could it be anything else? Maybe this kid was like
he's
super
just very psychic.
Maybe
right.
Maybe
it feels different than that, though.
Yeah. Okay.
It feels different than that.
Yeah. Maybe he just has like incredible abilities at that time. Because. I don't know.
Because he's saying, I am. And that is a thing, like with all these kids, they all say, stuff? I am, or me, or this happened to me. And also, when you do mediumship, you don't connect with...
Yeah, maybe he was doing mediumship.
No, because, and I'll tell you, the other kid in the Netflix documentary they showed is a much better example of this. Like, he remembers dying in flames in a plane crash. Okay, and he remembers the pain, and that doesn't happen in mediumship. I have past life recalls where I'm dying and I feel pain and stuff like that. That doesn't happen when I'm reading somebody else or I'm connecting to somebody else. It's separate from me. That is me, so it's different.
Yeah. All right. I mean,
I don't know. You okay?
Yeah, I think after fascinating stuff. I mean, and at the end of the day, I mean, what are we all real searching for? Is that we're all searching. I mean, at least myself, is that when you pass, that's not the end of things,
right?
Because that would drive. I assume some people would be really happy, like, I could permanently sleep for eternity. I'm done.
Yeah.
Yoo-hoo.
Some people
maybe, but I think the average person is like, at least somewhere in their mind, is hoping that it's not like you pass and then
that's it.
End of story. So we're all kind of searching throughout time, throughout history. I mean, this is from the first civilizations. We're all searching.
Yes.
That when you pass, in the physical body.
Right.
That there's something that comes after it.
Our brains are such a pesky thing.
Because if there's not, people would go insane.
Yes.
You would go insane.
Well, that's true.
Most people, I'm saying. Some people, again, might not care.
But energy cannot be created or destroyed. So energy lives on.
Right.
Why doesn't it carry information with it as it does?
Yeah. So I mean,
Interesting.
So I guess in terms of trying to figure out if that exists, this brings us one step closer to maybe yes.
Wow.
That it does, but I don't know. This is the one thing I always question is like, are we trying to just do this so we don't go insane? Like, are all these? And this is the huge skeptic in me.
Okay, guys.
I know. I'm sorry.
Okay, guys.
But is it all because
I got to give him a warm cup of tea and a blanket?
Yes.
And put on Honeymooners for him now.
Yeah, I do want to watch the Honeymooners. I do feel real safe when I watch the Honeymooners.
But I watch like sometimes shows like that, and I'm like, oh, they're all dead. You know, like sometimes that depresses me.
I know. I also, one of my favorite movies is Wonderful Life.
Oh, you love that one.
That's not the 50s though.
No, it's the 40s.
Yeah, but even there, they're all dead.
They're all dead.
They're all dead. All right.
Whoa, this became a downer of an episode, man.
Yeah, I think we just.
It's gonna be okay, Scott.
All right, we'll skip the overtime this week.
Okay.
I don't think I can handle it.
Well, you're welcome, folks.
Sorry.
I believe.
What's that SNL skit that you love so much? Like, wah, wah.
Yeah,
Debbie Downer.
Debbie Downer. Yeah, I believe. I'll leave it on this note.
Yeah. Leave it on an uplifting note.
Gazillion% that there is life after death. I believe. I mean, I think episode 24, I talked about my own. I'm pretty sure I didn't listen to it back. My own past life recalls. I mean, I talk to dead people in readings all the time. I mean, there's something else. We might not know exactly what it looks like because our brains are such a limited resource for us. Really, our brains are made for this world. Our brains are made for this biological purpose. So I really feel like you have to go outside of your brain sometimes and pick up other things to get the information that's real. That's just... man is not the measure of all things, even though that's how our society works. So if you kind of at least can believe that beyond our abilities, there might be more to understand, you're good.
Yes.
So, but I feel 100% that there's something to it.
And hey, I will say from not being skeptical, Marty Martin never came through when I was doing the research, and he's not a red blue.
Interesting.
Right. I never felt sweaty. I never felt any connection to him. Now you say, maybe because of the.
Well, I remember with Cesar Chavez.
Cesar Chavez, holy cow. He was red blue. And anytime it's a red blue, and I'm doing the research and they had passed, it comes through.
Right.
Marty Martin never. I was fascinated by the story, but not with Marty Martin.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Just do the other side.
All right. This podcast is for you and about you, and we're so glad you spent some time with us today.